What is going on, everybody? You are back on another edition of Ballin Over Beers. My name is Justin Dupengeiser, and tonight, flying solo. The boys are apparently having better things to do on vacation. Makey's actually at the Ryder Cup this weekend, so that's going to be pretty awesome. Pretty jealous that I couldn't make it, but it is what it is. So here we are. Before we get going, as always, gonna ask you, do us a favor, smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel so you're not missing anything that we're putting out. We're putting out a DFS show, we're putting out a betting show, and we're doing it every single week. In the comments tonight, tell me who your super lock of the week was, because I'll tell you, I had mine and then I ended up changing it, and I ended up actually taking the game off of my card completely, and it was the Dolphins versus the Raiders game, and it's because of the Tua news. So Tua is out with fractured ribs, so he's not playing. Jacoby Brissett's going to play. I watched that full Bills-Dolphins game, and Brissett did not look good at all. I actually like the Dolphins in this spot. I think the Dolphins could give the Raiders the offense some troubles with Xavier Howard, Byron Jones on the outside, two really good corners. You know, I think that Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow on the inside should have a pretty good week. And if DFS wise, there are a couple guys that I wouldn't mind looking into. But man, that Tua news. Tua hasn't been great, but he is definitely better than Jacoby Brissett. The game actually moved into a full half point when the news broke, so the Raiders are now 4-point favorites as opposed to 3.5. But I got off of that game completely with that news. So last week, why don't we talk about that a little bit and give a little recap here. So last week, I actually made a big comeback. I went 1-5 last week. Not a good start. And then this week got back on track, getting 4 games right, which was obviously a big week. Well, I got 4 points, I should say. 2 games right, and then my super lock. So I was 3 of 5. So 4 points. I got the Chicago over the Cincy game. Chicago was -2.5. Got the Carolina +3.5 game over New Orleans. And then my super lock was the Pats -6 over the Jets. I feel like the Pats over the Jets thing was just a slam dunk layup. Bill Belichick versus a rookie quarterback. I hammered it home on the betting show. I hammered it home on the DFS show, and sure enough, Zach Wilson comes out and throws 4 picks. It was just easy money, slam dunk layup, whatever you want to call it. It's a layup for me because I can barely touch the net. So we'll say a layup with the Pats over the Jets last week. AK came off of a not great first week with just 2 points, and he followed it up with another 2 points. He got the Denver over Jacksonville game right, where Denver was -6, and then he got the Titans Seattle game right. So he's at 4 points total for the year. I'm at 5 points total for the year, and I'm actually tied with James, who got 4 points the first week, and then followed that up with just 1 point this past week. He also got the Panthers versus the Saints at +3.5. I think one of the games that was kind of surprising that we were all on was the Pittsburgh versus the Raiders game, and the Pittsburgh's where it was -5.5. The Raiders coming off an emotional overtime win, and the Raiders came out and just did their thing, man. They just looked so much better than the Steelers. The Steelers right now do not look like a very good football team. I'm not sure if at the end of the year they're going to be a playoff team even. You got a very tough division that they play in with the Browns and the Ravens, and then you also have an AFC that is pretty loaded right now. The Raiders, the entire AFC West has potential to make the playoffs right now with the way those teams are playing. The Broncos look like they have found something with the Vic Fangio defense and Teddy Bridgewater at quarterback. And then obviously you have the Chiefs, who just lost a tough one to the Ravens. the Chargers, who are going to be tough, and that's going to be an awesome matchup this week. That Chiefs-Chargers matchup, and that's just a tough division in general. So the Pittsburgh, they look like they're in real trouble if for making the playoffs if they offensively they keep doing this. And now it's coming out that Big Ben's going to play, but it hurts when he throws, which seems pretty vital when you play the quarterback position. is throwing the football, and especially throwing the football without pain. So that'll be an interesting thing to keep an eye on, certainly moving forward. And I don't think that I'm going to be on that Pittsburgh game at all. I'm looking at the sheet here. I got James's in front of me. I don't have AK's at the moment, but James isn't on this the Steelers game either. But if the reports keep coming out that maybe he's really not healthy, he's getting worse or something like that, or even if they end up playing like the backup, if Mason Rudolph ends up coming in or something like that, it is definitely something to keep an eye on. It's obviously the Bengals, who who knows with Burrow's status. It doesn't look like they've really unleashed him yet. It looks like they're still kind of waiting for him to get fully healthy. They're kind of turning into an all of a sudden the ground and pound team with Joe Mixon getting a ton of handoffs. But that'll be one to keep an eye on for sure if more reports come out about Big Ben's arm, or if something like Mason Rudolph is going to end up playing or something like that. Other injuries and kind of stuff to talk about. Antonio Brown is placed on the COVID list, so we're going to have to see kind of where his status is going forward. Adam Schefter tweeted out that it's going to be difficult for him to find his way back onto the field on Sunday. He has to have 2 negative tests within a 24-hour period. So I don't know. It looks like he's up in the air. Does it really matter with the Bucs offense? Probably not. They still have Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Rob Gronkowski. Now they do have a tough matchup with the Rams. I think that's a really fun game. I'm super interested in general just to watch that game. I'm interested in that game in DFS. So I'll definitely be looking at it in that sense. Am I going to look into it on my betting card? Probably not. I want to kind of stay away from that. It's 1.5 point spread. So I'm going to stick away from that game for right now. Trying to think of any other major injuries that are happening. Not anything that I can think of. On top of that, maybe Carson Wentz. I know he's been battling some ankle injuries, so we'll have to kind of see what happens there. And if it's Jacob Eason, then that might be a situation where we definitely want to get in on the Titans, because Eason is not the answer whatsoever. Let's take a look at James's card. We'll start with him, and then we'll go to my card. If there's any crossovers, we'll talk about them, and we'll kind of go from there. So first game on James's card is the Philadelphia Eagles plus 3.5 against the Dallas Cowboys. He is taking the Eagles with the plus 3.5, and I actually have this game on my card as well. I think the Eagles are a pretty good football team. They battled with the 49ers, and the Niners, obviously squeaked it out with a close victory this past weekend. But that's a Monday night game. It should be a wild environment in the NFC East rivalry. I don't know still. Now, the Cowboys defense has created a lot of turnovers, right? They've created a lot of turnovers. They're coming off of an emotional last-second win against a Chargers team. But I think the Eagles are in a good spot here to kind of rebound and to keep it close. You're getting that half point, so even if the Cowboys win by 3, you're in a good situation there. So I like that game, and like I said, so does James, so we're both on that one. The next game we're also both on, so another dog, the Packers against that 49ers team we just talked about. The Packers are plus 3.5. Both teams coming off pretty good wins, right? The Packers just played the Lions in a game that was pretty close for the first half, actually. And then they ended up pulling away. Rodgers got back to himself and leaned a lot on Aaron Jones, who kind of went off with a bunch of touchdowns. And then you have the 49ers, who I said just battled with the Eagles in a close matchup. just give me Aaron Rodgers and the points. I think a lot of it, a lot of the times, what it comes down to, and actually this game has moved. It's actually Packers +3 right now, so that's interesting. We'll have to keep an eye on that. So make a note of that right now. So 3 points is now the line in this when the show comes out. So that game's moved a little bit. But I like the Packers. Like I said, give me Rodgers, give me the points. And I think that the Packers found a little bit of something against the Lions there, leaning again on Aaron Jones, going back to some of the play action, and then finding Devontae Adams on those timely shots. So next game we are also on, and it's another dog. It is the Washington football team against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are favored by 8 points, which seems like just a huge number. And I wish James was here to discuss this, because I would like to see kind of what his thought process was on this game. This game, pulling up the lines right now, has actually moved to 7.5 as well. So that's interesting. Another game that's moved to half a point. But I would like to know what James' thought process was. This is his Buffalo Bills team. To me, I think that the Washington football team, even without Ryan Fitzpatrick and with Tyler Heinicke in the lineup, obviously I don't think Heinicke's as good as Fitzy, but he's not a huge drop off. He can get some things done. He can, if he can take care of the ball and lean on some of those athletes that they have, they should be able to hopefully do enough to at least keep the game close. And honestly, Buffalo hasn't looked very good. Josh Allen has struggled in the first 2 games, which I think is a little surprising to a lot of people. I thought that there would be regression there, but maybe not to this point, where he's only completing 56% of his passes, and he just really in general has not looked very good. So we'll see if that Washington front can kind of get after them. I think that you saw in the first game, TJ Watt and Cam Hayward and Melvin Ingram and those guys really gave the Bills offensive line fits. And Washington has an outstanding front who has really not played well either the first couple of weeks. So we'll see who decides to kind of flip the script here and get after it and switch things around. The next one on James's card is actually the Panthers over the Texans at -8. The Panthers have kind of been the surprise of the season so far, I would say. They're a team that I don't think was very high on anybody's radar, and now they get a Thursday night game against a Texans team who's kind of banged up. There's some injuries. They have starting Davis Mills. Tyrod Taylor is injured, so there's a rookie quarterback, kind of short week. I think this is a good spot. I think that's a smart decision by James to kind of take that Panthers team, and even though they're 8-point favorites, it's just crazy to see, Sam Darnold, who's looked pretty good in the first 2 weeks, what he's been able to do when he gets away from a guy like Adam Gase and gets a competent offensive coordinator in Joe Brady, who's done a really nice job there so far. They've looked pretty good, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, obviously the 2 main targets, sprinkle in some Robbie Anderson. I think that's a good spot and a smart bet by James going against the rookie on a short week and against a Panthers defense who has balled out for the most part at this first part of the year. So I like that pick there by James. My next pick is actually Seattle versus Minnesota. I'll take Seattle -1.5. This game is a game that looks like it could be a shootout, but give me Russell Wilson over Kirk Cousins, right? A lot of the stuff that I look at when it's a close game like that, I'm going to just see who has the better quarterback, and give me Russell Wilson all day long in a close game where if you need to make some plays, it'll be Rusty making the plays and Kirk Cousins potentially throwing some picks or taking some sacks or, doing something that he shouldn't be doing in that situation. Super interesting game for DraftKings. So make sure you check that DraftKings show out, because we'll have I'll have a full breakdown of that, I'm sure, because a lot of interesting pieces in that game for a game where the game total is over 55.5 points. So could be a pretty fun shootout in that one. And then James's super lock on the week is actually the Bucks over the Rams. I think I said I didn't see that game on his card, but it is. It's definitely not on mine. So, but he's taking the Bucks -1.5 over the Rams. he's been on the Bucs since last year. He said before last year he thought that they were the best team in the NFC. He thought he called them going to the Super Bowl. So he's still kind of been riding that and saying, they're the best team until somebody shows otherwise. I guess that's kind of where he's going to go. The thing with the Bucs is this is an interesting matchup. The defensive front for the Bucs is just so good. You can't run the football on them. We know that the Rams love to run with McVay and that wide zone offense. It's going to be interesting to see if they try to do that, because so far in the first 2 weeks, like the Cowboys in week 1 didn't even think about it. They ended up throwing it over 50 times. And then you had last week with the Falcons, and the Falcons pretty much did the same thing with over 40-something attempts. So we'll see if the Rams actually try to stick to the run game and see if they can get anything opened up, or if they just say, screw it, we're going to let Stafford, Kupp, and Woods kind of do their thing and go after the game plan that way. My super lock for the week is I'm going back to the Patriots -2.5 over the Saints, right? So, and this really came down to Bill Belichick versus Jameis Winston. We saw Jameis Winston do some Jameis Winston type things last week. I often say that he is just an electrifying player, because you literally don't know what he's going to do when he drops back. It could be a 90-yard touchdown, or it could be a 90-yard interception for a touchdown. And last week he did this play where he scrambled to the left, spun around, and just heaved the ball into the middle of the field, and it gets intercepted. So, I could see him doing that again, honestly. Belichick is going to throw some disguises out there. The corners for the Patriots have been playing really well. They're going to get after the Saints team, I think. It'll be an interesting battle up front, because that Saints offensive line is pretty good, and so is the front of the Patriots. But to me, at the end of the day, I'm taking Belichick over Winston. Winston probably has a turnover or two that is going to cost them in what could be, an extremely close game. So I'll take the Patriots -2.5 as my super lock. So quick show tonight, everybody. Obviously, it's just me, so going through the cards there. Be sure to be checking out our Twitter page and AK's page, because he'll have his picks tweeted out at some point this week before Sunday, before the games get going. We appreciate everybody being here. And again, make sure you're checking out our other show, which is our DFS show. So I'll be breaking down that position by position, talking about my favorite plays. I also have an article that comes out every Friday for my favorite DFS plays of the week for the main slate. But we appreciate everybody being here. Smash the like button in the comments. Again, give us who is your super lock of the week. James's is Tampa -1.5 over the Rams. Mine is the Pats -2.5 over the Saints. Find me on Twitter at jdiz1617. Appreciate everybody stopping by. Talk to you later.